this problem, we're trying to find the domain and we are given a function. Recall that domain is any input value that will make the function true. So input values are your x values. So we're looking at our x values in this particular function. Also remember that you should assume that the domain is all real numbers and that you can plug any number in. The special cases you have to watch for are fractions and square roots. Remember, in fractions you can't divide by 0, so you have to make sure that you exclude any values that create a 0 in the denominator. So that's the scenario that we have here. So let's focus on this denominator, and we have to find what values, x values, create or equal 0 and remove them from our solution set. So we're actually looking for values that create that 0, and then we need to remove those. So when we're dealing with a quadratic, let's factor if we can, and this is factorable. If it's not factorable, remember you can use quadratic formula. And values of 56 that combine for -1, so I'll do -8 and a +7. When you're solving with the factoring method, recall that you have to set each one equal to 0 and solve these little mini equations. And remember, we're going to exclude those, so that's why I'm using the not equals, because I'm going to find what that value is and then I don't want to equal that. So in my first baby equation here I get 8, and in the second one I get a -7. So I've got to remove those from my solution set, which right now I'm thinking all real numbers. So I need all real numbers except -8 and -7. So the other problem that students have is writing this in interval notation. How do you do that? Whenever you're asked about interval notation, you should always visualize a number line. So I've got, we'll just say this is -7, and we'll say this is +8. Notice I'm just putting a circle. I'm not filling it in because I can't equal those, but I can equal everything up to -7 on both sides and everything up to +8 on both sides. So I'm just going to go left to right with my intervals. So on the left, I'm going all the way to -infinity. So that's where I'm going to start my interval notation. The lowest I can go is -infinity. I'm using a parenthesis because I can never equal that. So whenever you're dealing with -infinity or +infinity, you always want to use a parenthesis. I can go all the way up to 7, and again, I can't equal it, so I'm going to use that parenthesis. I've got the numbers between -7 and 8, and again, I can't equal those, so I would represent that with -7, 8, both in parentheses, because I can't equal that. And then I have all the numbers to the right of +8. So again, the lowest would be 8, again, parentheses, don't want to equal it, all the way to +infinity. And all I have to do is put the U in between for union, and now that is my interval notation. Again, interval notation just looks like your number line, representing those numbers that are on the number line. So final answer, you have 3 parts that are going to be your final answer for that interval notation.